Hi, everybody. It's Geezer Bill, and I just wanted to make a note today that I woke up and had learned that on Saturday, Tom Verlaine, the leader of the proto-punk band Television, had died suddenly after a brief illness. He was just 73, and of course, it was kind of a surprise to me. I always had been a fan of Television. They were they were almost even before the first generation of the New York punk bands, the first band to play at CBGB's when it became that nest of creativity that led to other bands like Richard Hell and the Voidoids. Richard Hell, of course, had been in Television, and Blondie and Talking Heads, the Ramones, the Usual Suspects, Patti Smith Group. Verlaine, though, he had a unique approach. So he and Richard Hell had formed this band, I think about 74 or 5. And the focus really was on kind of living this kind of down and out lifestyle, a highly creative, the Verlaine name itself, I don't even know what his real name was, but, he took it obviously from the French poet. The idea was that, you could live in the Lower East Side and make art and do stuff and create, even if you didn't have a lot of, experience with the instruments or with the writing or any of those things that professional musicians would consider to be essential. And over the course of very few years, this outfit, especially with Hell and Verlaine, they kind of created this own sort of scene that really started to draw other people in. And Richard Hell was famous because he had pinned together his T-shirts with safety pins and things like this, which of course is something that appears not too long afterwards as part of the uniform of the early punks. And Verlaine kept working. He brought in Richard Lloyd, who was another great noisy guitarist, and they were able to, finally put out a record. And it's kind of interesting because they had been beaten to the punch by a lot of the bands that came after them, because they, had long been making music, but not in a studio or anything of that sort. This wasn't really looked at as being a pathway for them as a career. But when they did put a record out about, I think 77, 78, Marquee Moon comes out, and it's, all of their songs that they've been working or playing for years. And it's a really great record. It gets higher praise than I would give it, because to me, it's a little sterile. It's a bit of a studio record. They're not guys who know how to work and get the most out of a studio at this point. So I am always a big fan, and I recommend The Blow Up, which is a live record that came out in '82. I think it captures them at about their peak, and it is just a guitar rager. And they cover all kinds of stuff. They have their own original material, but they're throwing in Dylan covers, 13th Floor Elevator covers, and it's a really potent record. I got it so long ago, I had it on cassette. That's how I got it, via airmail. From New York when I was stationed in Germany. It's a great record, and to me, it's the zenith of what Verlaine was working on. Television puts out another record, which is pretty good, Adventure. I think it's less successful, and then they pretty much are done. So the records are out. Verlaine goes on to an intermittently, moderately successful solo career, becomes kind of the eminence Grease of punk, but he doesn't really do much except periodically putting out solo records that get very little attention. I think in the end, though, I mean, if you look back at that very critical time, the late 70s and early 80s in New York City, Verlaine and Television are essential components, and they kind of crystallize what happens when creativity and the right time and the right place come together and explode. And Verlaine is part of that, and it really doesn't happen quite the way it would have otherwise if he had not been involved. So we'll miss you, Tom, but you've done your job. You've given us a lot of good stuff to listen to and to think about, and you will be missed but appreciated. Soldier stands
full salute. He wants your orders to execute. Send him out. His screaming red lights in a narrow ditch for the funny fight.